Hey everybody, my name is Jared and I'm a Master Mason in the state of Mississippi in the United States of America. And today's viewer's question is, I am inquiring to a local lodge and I was asked to pay $50 for my petition and $350 before things go any further. Is that average? Well, the honest answer is I have no idea if that's average or not. There's just so many different lodges across so many different jurisdictions that I don't have that data. So what I can do is tell you generally what kind of things would usually cost money, and I'll tell you what my lodge currently charges, and you can go from there. I believe in the state of Mississippi you can still find lodges that only have dues that are $25 per year, and that should shock you. It shocks me. I believe that my lodge has the second highest dues in the entire state. Our dues are $100 per year, and I believe there is a lodge that's somewhere in the 125 to 150 range per year. So those are the dues that you have to pay annually. Now here in the state of Mississippi you do not pay those dues until you are a Master Mason, and you are able to remain as a fellow craft or an entered apprentice for as long as you want. There's no maximum amount of time before you sort of just fall off the rolls. So you could become an entered apprentice and never pay your dues, never pay any other dues to the lodge, and be an entered apprentice for the rest of your life. Whether that's right or wrong is for another topic. So bringing that back in a little bit, you also have to pay for your actual degrees. And there's various reasons for this. First off, yes, it does help that you have a monetary interest in something. It's a psychology type of thing. You paid money for something, you want to see that you got your money out of it. And so it generally the majority of people will be more interested in learning their proficiencies and getting that next degree because they have an investment into it. But outside of that, it also goes to pay for putting on the degree. Now, in times past, that may have been more geared around the concept of the lodge having to actually go rent a location to do your degree in. Where their normal meetings were at may have only held a dozen people, and now they're going to do this degree and they're going to have brothers coming around from other places to help put on the degree, or they just want to watch it or be a part of it, and they need a larger facility for that. So it would help with the expenses of simple things like renting out a room for a night. Now I think it's more common of, well, because it's a degree, we're going to kind of step up what meal is being provided, and so there's an extra expense for the meal and those kind of expenses more than anything else. But there is a fee for each degree. My lodge, it's $75 per degree. And then we have in our bylaws how we actually split that up. We split that $75 up into a couple different journal entry type of accounts. So now is the question of, can a lodge ask you to pay for all 3 degrees at one time, or do you pay each time you receive the degree? It's a bit of a gray area. Here in Mississippi, I believe you can interpret it to mean that you could receive one fee for the entered apprentice degree and then turn around and say that the fellow craft and the Master Masons are free. So you collect all of the money up front and get that investment from the person, and then don't have to do that any further. Lodges like mine, we charge per individual degree. So when you get your entered apprentice degree, you're paying for that one on that night, and then when your fellow craft and your Master Mason. So you pay for them individually as you get to them. As far as a fee for a petition, I have never heard of that before. It would be interesting to read down in the comments below whether or not that's a standard thing for other jurisdictions. I am not familiar with it in our bylaws that a lodge couldn't charge that, but I don't think there's anything in there providing a provision where you could do that. So just the reason I say it that way is our Grand Lodge provides a template for the subordinate lodge's bylaws, and it quite blatantly says that the bylaws for a lodge will be exactly what's there and fill in the blanks, and so you can't make any other edits to add in a petition fee. So I'm not sure how that's done in other jurisdictions. I'm sure they don't either have the template, or their template provides it, or it's just left wide open to how the lodge wants to do things. So here's what you need to do. You understand this is your money, and the worst any lodge can tell you is no. Even in the state of Mississippi, there's over 200 lodges, so wherever you are, I'm sure if you don't feel comfortable with the way that lodge does business, go check with another one. Just go check with another one. You're joining a fraternity. There's no harm in saying, okay, well, I checked with this lodge, and now I'm going to go check with this other lodge. It's fine. You may feel a little uncomfortable with that because you're not a member of the fraternity, but nobody on this side of the door cares. You can come check out my lodge and then go check out the one down the road and join whichever one you feel the most comfortable with. They will completely understand that it's your money, and you have the right to be able to say, hey, what is this going towards? After I pay this $350, am I going to have to pay again for my fellowcraft degree? Does this get me through all of my degrees? Does it pay for my first year dues? When will I have to pay dues again? How much are my annual dues? So those are all things that in my lodge, when we go through the investigation committee, we take the time to spell this out to somebody. We want them to know right up front, because we don't want them to feel later like, oh man, nobody told me I was going to have to pay this on this particular time. And we want them to know right up front what sort of financial expectation is involved. And really, it's a two-sided coin here. We want to make sure that you don't put yourself into some sort of obligation with us financially that is going to impact your family. And because of that, we have no problem with you asking us what financial responsibility is going to fall on you. So by asking us, where does this money go and when am I going to have to pay more, does nothing more than let us know that you're responsible. And that's awesome. That's the kind of thing that we're looking for. So don't hesitate to ask the lodge those kind of probing questions to find out what the money is for and when you're going to have to pay some more. So I apologize for not being able to answer your question directly on whether or not this is average, but hopefully it gives you something to go on. I know that while I'm saying my lodge at $100 per year is one of the highest in the state of Mississippi, I'm sure it's still a quite low number for many other jurisdictions. I've heard lodges that charge up to $500 per year, and I'm sure there's even ones that cost more than that. So interestingly, before we close out, going through the Scottish Rite Master Craftsman program, one of the things they talk about is how much dues were way back in the day. And if you ever sit back and wonder, golly, this lodge only wants $100 per year. How in the world did Freemasons ever build these big cathedral-like looking buildings that had to have cost just crazy amounts of money? Well, it's because at one time it cost a crazy amount of money just to become an entered apprentice. And the cost for becoming an apprentice has gone down quite a bit over the years. So when you start trying to understand it wasn't always so inexpensive. And hopefully whatever it is that you have to pay to get into the fraternity, you don't let that number dictate its value. Make sure that you're doing what you can to make the value of the fraternity not only as much as it can be for yourself, but for everybody else that's currently in your lodge and looking forward into the future. Because it's much better for somebody to come in and say, man, I can't believe I get all this friendship, all this learning, all of these different things for $25 an entire year. I mean, that's crazy, crazy kind of money to be able to do that. But if they can come in and say, this is fair, I'm getting what I'm putting in financially, and there's enough left over to do these charities and all this other kind of stuff. That's fair. I think that's where you find that ground. It's just like any kind of negotiation that involves currency. You're trying to find where is it that both parties, the seller and the buyer, say that was fair. And if you can hit that fair, it ought to be the same number that's paying your expenses, and everybody can be agreeable. So that's what I would look for, and I hope that somewhere in this message you can find the answer that you were looking for, and maybe some unasked advice as well. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch. I look forward to seeing what kind of dues are your lodge requiring, what other kind of fees are required in joining or staying as a member of your lodge. And if you happen to require entered apprentices and fellowcrafts to pay dues, I'd love to know. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.